President of the Gandhian Cultural Community of Korea, for the opening remarks and to welcome the distinguished panelist. Professor Lakvendra, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is so nice. Has a good introduction. I'm so happy. Dear friends, first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you to this important event. Last year, we organized many events, and we have a lot of sports. And this year also, we look forward to have just sport. As you know, we are just a 1-year-old organization, but last year we organized many events successfully, and our name was noticed by Korean administration, and I got very encouraging message from my colleagues in Korean government. So even though we are very small, but we are being noticed in Korea. So slowly we'll encourage. I would like to say it takes a lot of courage and strength to attend a meeting like this. In a country like Korea, where money is everything, where corporate greed taking over the whole population, to talk about Gandhi is not so easy. To attend an event like Gandhi is a show your moral strength, your moral conviction, and the power to see beyond money. So even though we are small in number, but we are strong. We have a moral strength to stay strong to our convictions. Even though Gandhi is not well known, but there are some strong admirers in Korea which are supporting us. So we should go strongly with our mission to spread Gandhi's teaching in Korea, and we will be successful. And as you know, why we have to work in Korea? Why many of our Indian friends ask why we need to work in Korea? Because the reason is that Korea is prime example. Prime example. What happens when a country don't follow Gandhiji? When corporate greed is given an upper hand, everything is ignored. And you talk about starting about money, everything. And Gandhi especially warned us against this. So today, as you know, in Korea, family has collapsed. Birth rate has completely crossed the point of no return. Youth is committing suicide in large numbers, and youth is leaving Korea in large numbers. And in Korea, almost every household is under heavy debt, less at least $50,000 per family. So even though Korea looks rich, but Korea is under extreme economic problems. This is happening only because they ignored Gandhiji. If they have controlled this big corporate growth, they could have managed all these social ills and economic ills very carefully. Now they are coming back to Korea. Now they are coming back to Gandhiji. When I came to Korea 20 years ago, there's not a single statue of Gandhiji. Now they're installing statues of Gandhiji. Problem here is that even though we are doing very best, we are not getting any support from India or Indian government to propagate Gandhi's message teachings. Our embassy in Korea is just providing on lip service. They claim to supporting, believing Gandhiji, but they are not doing real service to Gandhiji. And until we don't get support from our Indian institutions, we cannot be successful. So we have to make some extra effort to tell our official help reach us. We have to keep doing what we are doing. Until we don't get some strong support, we have to keep our activity. So don't lose heart if we are small in numbers or small in gatherings. This is the beginning of a very big movement. So all of you are a kind of founders of this great movement. History will be written on your shoulders. So I strongly give you a call to stay strong and stay motivated, that we have a historic mission to achieve. And I pray for all of you that this year also we will achieve great strengths and great achievements. And but once again, I want to welcome all of you. All of you are joined from different universities in India, from Maharashtra, from Punjab, from other states in India. So all of you are my students and my colleagues. I'm very happy to have you here, all of you. And I assure you, whatever support you get from us, from Korea, I will be with you all the time. Once again, thank you very much. Session over to you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. That was a very motivating. Next, I would like to call on Professor Swaran Singh Dr. Swaran Singh is a professor for diplomacy and disarmament at the Center for International Politics, Organization and Disarmament. He is the head of the Department of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor Singh has traveled and written extensively on Asian affairs, China's foreign and security policy issues, with special focus on China India confidence building measures, as also on the arms control and disarmament, peace and conflict resolution, India's foreign and security policies as well. His latest book titled Revisiting Gandhi interrogates several strands of Gandhian design, articulations, and methods and ideals through 5 sections. The book presents the essential of humility and simplicity of Gandhi. This book is a must read for all those who seek to understand Gandhi in a way that is candid and inclusive. He is the guest of honor today. I welcome him. Professor Swaran Singh.
Thank you, Hatisham. Also, thank you so much to Professor Lakhvinder Singh, who's the president of Gandhian Cultural Community in Korea. And I'm sure with strength of his team and his own determination, this organization will definitely make a contribution in areas which are in increasing demand of stepping back and looking at where the world is going. Professor Lakhvinder Singh mentioned about enormous strides that South Korea has made in its economic rise. That is very noticeable. But that also any sudden change, especially sudden prosperity, brings its own challenges. And Professor Lakhvinder Singh did underline some of these. And I think the relevance of Gandhi in that context is obvious to all of us. Gandhi was not only deeply grounded in history, culture, religion, not just of India, but of major civilizations, but was also someone who could very perceptibly look at future. The issues that world is grappling today, for example, issues of sustainability, issues of climate change, they were not issues during the lifetime of Gandhi, but look at the way he lived. And one of the famous sayings of Gandhi is that my life is my message. So the way he lived, the way he articulated, the way he organized himself and his community has enormous amount of lessons to address issues that world is grappling with today. And that is why this enormous relevance of Gandhi to the contemporary challenges that world is facing becomes very significant. And a group like you, I think in that sense, has a responsibility to not just engage and understand Gandhian philosophy, Gandhian thought, Gandhian ideas, his revolutionary experiments, but also to spread that word that this is one alternative way of looking at how one should organize life around the world, which becomes fundamentally sustainable, livable, more humane, and more worthy of being human beings that we think is the most evolved of the living species that we know of. So in that sense, I'm honored and delighted to be part of this discussion today. And I'm hopeful that this initiative will see much more impact and visibility in Korea and maybe in the larger region around Korea. All of you are perhaps much aware of the strong connection that Korea has had with Gandhi. This is not very often debated in Indian circles, but I'm sure when you have people debating Gandhi in Korea, you are much aware of the very close linkage that existed. For example, when the recent Korean ambassador now in Delhi, Chang Ye-bok, when he came to Delhi last year in August, in 2019, I think, the day on 19th August, I think, when he presented his credentials to the President of India, he also visited Rajghat, which is the monument for Gandhi, and also the Gandhi Museum he visited. Now, Very few foreign ambassadors would do that on the day of submitting their credentials. That means that the diplomat was clearly aware of the deep linkage that Korea has had with Gandhi, and not just with India, with Gandhi as an individual, as a person. For example, in 1926, there was a very famous owner editor of a newspaper called Tung Ilbo, and the newspaper's owner editor was Sung Soo Kim. He wrote a letter to Gandhi in which he says that you are not a stranger for Korean intelligentsia, Korean aristocracy, Korean people, Korean intellectuals. You have not just inspired us, but you are actually seen here in Korea as our own leader. Now, that letter is very significant letter to understand the kind of close connection that Korean people, Korean scholars had with Gandhi. And then there are, of course, several other insinuations. Scholars have done work of the famous March 1st movement of the Korean liberation from Japan in 1919. Was that aware of Gandhi? Was that inspired by Gandhi? Was Gandhi's civil disobedience movement was some kind of an example to people? In Korean media at that time, it was known that Gandhi at that time was publicizing a very revolutionary strategy of boycotting British products. And that had inspired many people, and thousands of, particularly again, young students had led that March 1st, 1919 liberation movement of Korea, in which, of course, we talk of 33 very popular leaders on top. They were clearly aware of Gandhi's civil disobedience. But more interesting linkage became, because this liberation movement also, people, scholars have estimated, had led to about 12,000 plus people being killed by Japanese. And Gandhi had written about it actually. In 1910, Gandhi had even earlier written about his awareness of the aspirations that Koreans had for liberation and independence. And particularly, he wrote an editorial in Indian Opinion, the newspaper that Gandhi used to run, in January of 1910, about how the Prime Minister of Japan, Hirobumi, was assassinated by one of the activists or protesters or liberation struggle participant, Ang Jun-gyum. Gandhi wrote an editorial on that subject. And there was familiarity and awareness on both sides. And I'm talking here of Gandhi because Gandhi is beyond India for me. So Gandhi, I'm looking at Gandhi as an iconic philosopher, leader, who himself has an enormous link and following in Korea in that sense. So that constant connect between Korea and Gandhi was very strong and stayed through the liberation movement. And this was again very strongly revived more recently. You would again remember that in 2019, we were celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Gandhiji. And United Nations General Assembly held a special session on contemporary relevance of Mahatma Gandhi to the world. And you would remember that this event was happening in September of 2019. And in that particular event, the president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, delivered a speech where he devoted enormous amount of part of his speech on Gandhi. And particularly quoted something which is very interesting. And he quoted Gandhi to say that Gandhi had said that there is no path to peace. Peace is the path. And he tried to explain how the very foundation of United Nations is clearly embodies that sentiment. So that was a very great tribute in that sense from President Moon Jae-in in that event, which was to then, sort of lead to 2nd October being declared as International Day of Nonviolence. Now, United Nations every year, we around the world celebrate 2nd October as International Day of Nonviolence. Now, what is equally significant is not just the speech of President Moon Jae-in. this resolution, that this should be declared as an International uh, Day of Non-Violence had originally been adopted way back in June of 2007, on 15th June 2007. So I talked of President Moon Jae-in giving a speech on 150th anniversary, where UN General Assembly is celebrating a special event on relevance of Mahatma Gandhi to contemporary world and makes a speech. That's one strong connection. Other connection is that famous General Assembly resolution which had created this day. And while on 15th June 2007, this resolution was adopted by General Assembly, same year, only in January, another famous Korean, Ban Ki-moon. Ban Ki-moon had become Secretary General of United Nations in January of 2007. And by June, first major activity that his taking over saw was that General Assembly adopts a resolution to declare 2nd October as International Day of Non-Violence. So even the contemporary great iconic leaders of Korea have shown their not just awareness, but great engagement and understanding and appreciation of Gandhian philosophy and Gandhian ideas. So I think Korea can be in that sense from East Asia, one country where we can see a very fertile ground to revive debates on Gandhi, to bring to the front the current relevance, contemporary relevance of Gandhi. And I was carefully listening to when Professor Lakhvinder Singh highlighted several contemporary problems that the modern, much prosperous life in Korea is today facing. These are new challenges, but also how one can particularly engage the youth of Korea now to begin to understand the kind of timelessness that Gandhian philosophy has in it. In fact, there are global debates now whether the GDP growth rates should be the only yardstick to measure national development. A very small country in India's neighborhood, Bhutan, has created some concept called National Happiness Index. Becoming prosperous does not mean becoming happy. These are two very different things. Or being at peace. And therefore, I think Gandhi has to make an important contribution. And Korea, because of its century-old linkages with Gandhi, Korea, because of its current iconic leaders being fully aware and engaged with the philosophy of Gandhi, creates a very fertile ground. And I'm sure that not just people like you are dedicated, maybe India at the national level, in terms of national leadership of India, also understands that important integral connect between India and South Korea, which is where Gandhi becomes a bridge. So you would perhaps remember, this is more recent, that in February of 2019, sorry, there is a flight going over there. I live next to international airport of my university, is very close to the international airport in Delhi. So
yes, I remember.
The flights that go overhead sometimes creating noise. So I was saying that when Indian Prime Minister recently, actually before we went into pandemic, had visited Korea in February of 2019, he also unveiled one more bust of Mahatma Gandhi in the famous Yonsei University. So I think this awareness of Gandhi being an important bridge between India and Korea, whether it is the Korean ambassador's visit on the day of his submitting of credentials when he comes to Delhi, or whether it is Prime Minister Modi going to Seoul and unveiling that bust and making a very important speech at that university to addressing young students. Not in many countries' relationships, Gandhi is as writ large and as visible and as influential as Gandhi becomes when we look at connections between India and South Korea. So in that sense, you already have an advantage in pushing this agenda, this idea forward. Particularly as Professor Lakhvinder Singh said, this is very contemporaneous. This is the time when we need to again bring back Gandhi and revive Gandhi. And thanks for showing that book of mine, which talks about revisiting Gandhi in terms of looking at his relevance to world peace and national integration. So I think most of us need to revisit Gandhi, and he becomes really very, very significant in our contemporary challenges that we face. And the link between India and Korea, I think, makes Gandhi all the more important. So my compliments to this team of Gandhian cultural community in Korea. And I'm very confident that your work will be receiving great appreciation and engagement among the Korean youth. Korean youth is now becoming globally visible, of course, for their games on internet, for their music and other issues. But I'm sure there are several Korean youth who are equally grounded in ideas and issues of philosophy and issues of society that societies face. So my best wishes for the team and my best wishes to all of you to take this very, very important task that you have taken upon yourself forward. And my best wishes, and I have great confidence this will soon begin to become far more visible, and you will begin to receive far greater engagement among the Korean society and Korean interlocutors who are also equally keen in engaging Gandhi and engaging India. And thank you very much for involving me in this today's discussion. It's my honor. And
Thank
with
you
that,
so much, Professor.
I hand it back to Atisha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. That was a very informative session. The next speaker that we have is Dr. Puneet Pandey, Senior Associate of Gandhian Cultural Community. Dr. Puneet Pandey is a senior animal biotechnologist and wildlife expert with decade-long teaching, research, and consultancy experience with national and international organizations. Presently, he is affiliated with the Seoul National University, South Korea, and working for the welfare of East Asian wildlife through the support of United Nations Environment Program and South Korean Ministry of Environment. He is also a senior research associate with Korean Tiger and Leopard Conservation Fund. He is our keynote speaker today. I welcome him.
Thank you, Tisham, and my apologies to all of you as my internet connection is not really well. I'm in remote part of Russia now, so internet is a big problem. So I begin with first of all, good evening to all of you, and begin with the homage and Shraddhanjali to Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation and the inspiration to whole world. As Professor Lakhvinder Singh and Professor Swaran Singh mentioned enormously about the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi. I totally agree with their opinion, and Mahatma Gandhi's concepts, philosophy has a lot of to contribute to the modern society development. I wish to extend my token of thanks and appreciation to the organizers, that is Gandhian Cultural Committee in South Korea, for organizing such a wonderful online seminar to raise the issue about the Gandhian importance in modern society. And I'm also thankful to the moderator, volunteers, guests, without whom this event was insignificant. Though Gandhi left the world in 1948, his thoughts are still alive and relevant and guiding billions worldwide to live in peace and harmony. Gandhi talked about, when we talk about the Gandhian principles, they are basically about the 6 things like truth, non-violence, vegetarianism, brahmacharya, simplicity, and truth. In simple word, we can say like Gandhi always encouraged like to live a simple, truthful life with synergism and cooperation with nature and society. Once Mahatma Gandhi observed that the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. To seek to reduce the suffering of those who are completely under the dominance of ones and unable to fight back is truly marks of a civilized society. So when we talk about like how Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi became Mahatma Gandhi, we should understand the meaning of word Mahatma also. In Mahatma word in Sanskrit means the great soul. So if a person is having such a great thoughts about the creatures, those who are not able to express themselves, or those who are on the dependence of others, like domestic animals, wild animals, and all. So such a soul definitely be called as Mahatma. You never find much of the politicians, or very rarely you find any person or a political figure to be called as Mahatma. So this kind of a thinking makes him Mahatma. So today must discuss about some issues, how Korean society, which was traditionally, as Professor Swaran Singh also mentioned, that in previous past century, the Korean society was more inclined or more associated with the Gandhian philosophy, is how deviating, and it is creating a lot of problems. So when we talk about a Korean society, everyone will agree that it's a great nation, great culture, great society of the East Asia. The traditional Korean society, civilization, or the religious beliefs are more linked to the nature and involve a lot of activities that are related to the nature, respect to the nature. But in past several years, what happened is like the society has more become developed, so-called development, financial freedom, and other things have changed the views about the people's view about the society and the animals. One such is there since past few years, there are a lot of issues like people are leaving their animals abandoned. So abandoned animals like dogs and cats, which we rear them as our pets. So you are finding in Korea a big issue like people are leaving them. Sometimes they're doing a lot of torture, sometimes bad things. So if you live in a Korea, because I am living in a Korea from past 5-6 years, so I can tell you like this is not about only the animals, how these people are treating the animals, the modern people. Sometimes this is also the kind of the stress they are having. So that stress or the change in their living is also doing it. Similarly, in Korea, they have a lot of issues like animal cafes, where when we talk about the Korean people, most of them are educated. They have a lot of sense of animal behavior and other things, but still they have animal cafes where they want to touch, sometimes they want to disturb the normal life and activity of an animals in the while sipping a cup of a coffee. So that's very normal in South Korea, especially in the cities like Seoul, Busan and all. I work in a college of veterinary medicine where all the students are well aware about the importance of animals and other things, but when we talk about them, whether you would like to go to the animal cafes, many of them are not negative. So this is what something is there, like they are they are not empathetic to the and it took us like more than 2 years. We are continuously doing a lot of discussions, debates with the government officials also, to how to bring this some kind of a change in the society, how best we can help to manage this situation where animals are not well treated. And when we talk about, I previously mentioned like how Mahatma Gandhi thought has a thought about the animal welfare. So all when we think about it, so those things are very contradictory. If society is more inclined or focused towards the Gandhian philosophy and wants the real world, when we see there is a something different. So we are being in discussion with the government. Actually, in the Korea, what happens is they don't have proper regulations or legislation available for the animal welfare. So for since last year we are working with the, because in India we have a lot of good laws about the welfare of animals. So this year, January 15, the South Korean government adopted some law that has prohibited the use of animals in the animal cafes. And with that, they also made some laws about how best these animals can be further treated well. They are making some special arrangement for these animal welfare when they're taking out from these areas. So all those things, it's so what I want to make it here is like there are a lot of things which a Gandhian thoughts can teach to the modern Korean society, especially about the animal welfare, love, affection. Korean society has a very reducing family values these days, a lot of stress. So many things. So these things can be taken care if they start love appreciating the nature and the animals. So this is the one of the thought that I would like to share, how this is the area where Gandhian Cultural Committee of Animals, so we can work here. Again, many thanks to the organizers and all. I keep on working with the committee, and my special work is all about the animal welfare in South Korea and East Asia. So I'll continue with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Puneet. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Puneet. Next we have with us is Kisle Kumar. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Next we have with us is Kisle Kumar, President of the Indian Overseas Congress, who would like to speak on the relevance of Gandhi in our times. I welcome Mr. Kisle Kumar.
Thank you, Atesham, for inviting me, and thank you, Dr. Lakwinder Singh, for organizing this wonderful program. And thanks to Professor Swaran Singh for his insightful words. They were really insightful, and we happened to learn a lot about Gandhi through his words. Today, I would like to draw your attention of the speakers and the people who are present over here today towards the ideology which is contradictory to that of Gandhi, which is being spread here in South Korea as well as in India. It is very common nowadays. So people are nowadays worshipping Godse. It's a very serious issue of our times. Not only in India, but I have seen that in South Korea, there are some videos being made about Gandhi in Korean language, which is completely defaming of Gandhi and which is completely, lies. Like, for example, I told one of my colleagues in my office that, we are running an organization called Gandhian Cultural Community of Korea, and we are trying to spread the values of Gandhi in South Korea. And then after a few days back, he turned to me and he said that, Kisle, I saw something about Gandhi on YouTube, and it was like Gandhi, did not try to protect another freedom fighter called Bhagat Singh, and he was hanged. So these kinds of lies are being spread over here, and I would really like to draw your attention of everyone that we need to do something now in Korea as well in order to let our Korean people know that these are all lies and Gandhian values are something different from what is being spread, right? So this is a very serious issue, because once these things start spreading, people's mind get polluted, and those who do not know much about Gandhi, for example, here in South Korea, people are aware about Gandhi, but they do not study much about Gandhi. So there are various things which we need to take care of, and I would also request Dr. Singh to work on it. And I would also request to have some sort of comments from Dr. Swaran Singh about this, that how can we prevent such things, such, wrong information about Gandhi being spread everywhere? What should be the ways to tackle it? What could we do actually in order to, tackle it? How should we handle such things? The second thing is that, of course, as Dr. Singh said, that we are small in numbers, and, for a thought as strong as of that of Gandhi's, numbers do not matter much. What matters is the path of truth. As Dr. Swaran Singh said that, there is no way to move on the path of truth. It is itself a path, right? So we always have to take care of these things in the mind. And the another thing which I would like to point out today is, people talk about strategies in politics, this and that, but no one talks about the values in the politics. What Mahatma Gandhi, at the time when he was fighting for the freedom, when he was struggling for the freedom, what were the strategies of Gandhi? There were truth and non-violence was the major strategy of Gandhi. How many leaders today in India, or how many leaders globally, they follow these kinds of ideologies? We have to think about it. And through this video, which is being live on YouTube as well, and which will be available on all different social media platforms, I want to draw attention towards such kind of mentality which is being spread. We need today, our youths, we need values today. We do not need strategies like lying and playing games and this and that. We need values in politics. If we are going to be active in politics tomorrow, we need a politics of values, number one. And then comes other things, right? So no, we do not find any place for values today. This is a very serious issue which is impacting our our politics, our daily lives, and people are getting far and far away from politics. They are hating politics. But can we afford to hate politics today? We cannot afford to hate politics today, because if you start hating politics today, who will the politics will go into the hands of rich privileged people. I won't use the word rich. It would go into the hands of privileged people, and everything, every law, everything will be made according to their wishes. So we need to be active. We need to have values. Gandhi's thoughts are also very relevant in the democratic institutions. If Gandhi were alive, he would never have let any institution be he would never have allowed any institution lie anything. He would never have allowed any institution to pressurize media for not publishing this and not publishing that. So institutions, if we try to take Gandhian values, and if we try to analyze democracy according to the from the glasses of Gandhian values, we will see that institutions play a great role today, and institutions are being polluted. Institutions play a great role in the democracy, and they are being polluted. The people sitting over there are lying. Was this the teachings of Gandhi, that everyone lies, everyone pressurizes others, everyone does sort of coercive, everyone takes coercive actions on people who speak truth to the power? So these are the things we need to understand, and these are the things we need to fight against. Being youngsters, we are going to be the leaders of tomorrow, and youngsters are present over here. Shahnawaz is here, Vivek ji is here, Atesham is here, Anchal ji is here, Puneet ji is here. We are all youngsters, and we need to take this thing in mind, and we need to fight for this values and truth, whatever be the consequences. What were the consequences of what could be the consequence in the pursuance of truth? You can take an example from Lala Lajpat Rai. He died. Britishers ne unke sar pe danda mara hai, he died. Gandhi said, Gandhi died in the pursuance of truth. Gandhi ka ye tha ki will perish. Till what extent can we pursue the truth? We can pursue the truth till the extent of being perished. This is the values, and this is the courage that we need to have today in our life, and in our in our day-to-day lives, and in our worldview. With these words, I would like to request everyone, let's move fast. Let's try to spread the values of Gandhi in Korea with new energy. Let us not be lazy. I mean, we can do many things over here. As Professor Swaran Singh also said, that Korea is a very fertile land for spreading Gandhian values, and I'm sure that he is right, he is correct. With the help of our elders like Dr. Lakhvinder Singh, Professor Swaran Singh, we will surely move in this direction and do something great. Thank you very much for giving time to me. I would like to hand over the screen to Atesham.
Thank you, Kisly. Next, I would like to invite Shahnawaz Alam. He's a member of the Indian Overseas Congress Cultural Unit, to pay his tribute. Mr. Shahnawaz. You may turn your mic on. I think it's mute.
Okay. Sorry, Hithasam. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Greetings. As Hithasam introduced me, my name is Shahnawaz Alam. And thank you, everyone, like Mr. Professor Lakhvinder Singh and Professor Singh are delivering such informative information about Gandhi. And thank you. And I'm very much honored to be invited by Gandhian Cultural Community South Korea to attend this commemoration of the 24th death anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So when we talk about Gandhi, Gandhi's idea is not only limited to India, subcontinent of India. For me, Gandhi ideas had influence far beyond India's source. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance distinguished India from other independence movements of that era. He praised and he championed nonviolence to the core of his being. More remarkably, if I say, he could pursue our countrymen to desist from the violence, even they had been persecuted and severely provoked. As he said, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. This was his advice then and remains now. So as Dr. Puneet Pandey said, though Gandhi is not currently present here with us, but his idea with us, and we need to spread his idea, his philosophy to among our generations, youngster especially, because unfortunately in a country like Mahatma Gandhi, as his idea is like under the attack and being misused by some of the prominent leaders. As Kisly said, like there's a fake information like being spread in South Korea, but not only in South Korea, even in country back home. His idea, his philosophy, his name is being misused by some of the prominent leader of a country. It is happening in our country because Mahatma Gandhi was and is way too good for the weak mentality of some of our countrymen to grasp and comprehend. He was brave enough, and he was brave beyond any kind of measurement because he practiced nonviolence and tolerance. Which is very hard for anyone, not only for a countryman, to understand the courage it takes to follow this path. And hence, people, especially like youngest or like the people like my age, of our generations, like youngster of my age and like our generations, make fun of his beliefs, the idea of Gandhi's, the idea of like the philosophy of Gandhi's, the Gandhi's beliefs and the path the Mahatma Gandhi had followed. These days, currently in our country, it is very fashionable for educated peoples and like our media, like mainstream medias, like youngster to abuse him, to abuse his idea, to defame him, to pass lewd comment to Gandhi, to pass like derogatory comment on Gandhi. This is really very fashionable these days because current government, like they are praising the idea of the killer of Mahatma Gandhi. They are being prayed like Nathuram Godse. So it is our sole responsibility because we believe in the idea of Gandhi. I think we need to spread the idea of Gandhi and philosophy, and we need to educate our youngster especially. So I really thanks Professor Lakhvinder Singh because he's trying to spread the idea of Gandhi in South Korea. But we are Indian, so I think we need to talk about Gandhi with like our Indian youngsters. Same time to Korean, same time to like other as well. Because we have to understand that Gandhi was the only and only reason we could ever think like Purna Swaraj, complete independence. I'm not denying, and though like there's no doubt other leaders of that era stood up and played their part for the freedom and the struggle. But it is beyond an iota of doubt. There was no one who brought the people of country together as Mahatma Gandhi did. He was the one who talked to our peoples. I still remember my grandfather used to say, if Gandhi, because he was very much influenced by Gandhi, he said, Gandhi is not a man. Gandhi is not a person. He's a more than that. He's a God for us. My grandfather used to talk about him. So, and like as we say, like freedom is like every individual's birth. But I believe he was the Gandhi who made every Indian believe in that idea. And I remember one time, like Barack Obama said, like whenever I think about revolutions and to start revolutions, I always look to Gandhi. So we are like, I feel pride. Being an Indian, I think we need to take that kind of advantage, and we need to express our emotions, our translated and like our untranslated emotions to others. But like I'm very much like emotional whenever it comes to Gandhi, and whenever I see people when they abuse Gandhi, when they talk anything like they misuse the name of Gandhi, I really like easily get emotional. But whenever like I need to talk about Gandhi, I can go on. I can go on, but I do not want to influence like anyone here. I just want to tell, if you really wish to know the man, go and read about the Gandhi. Go and talk to people about the Gandhi. Because no matter how great man was, there will always be people who criticize him. And no matter how evil a man was, there will always be someone to praise him, the way the killer of Mahatma Gandhi is being praised in a country like Nathuram Godse. So, like, if you want to discover about the Gandhi, talk to people and you will know them. But if you wish to understand the Mahatma, then I implore you have to take long route to read his thought, his views, his philosophy, his opinions. I especially read his book, his autobiography, like My Experiments with the Truth, where he has opened his heart out and shown how ordinary he was, how vulnerable to crime, lies, lust, and hypocrisy he was. Yet, when I finished up reading, I got to know that how great he was. So I especially implore everyone to read about the Gandhi, talk about the Gandhi, and spread his message. And how much you could. So it is our sole responsibilities, and it is pleasure. It is really good to know that we are organizing such meeting here in South Korea. I think we need to organize this kind of meeting, especially in this era where like his name is being attacked in India. I think we need to talk with Indian youngster as well. So try to connect with the Indian youngster as well. Try to teach them, educate them about the Gandhi. Thank you, Professor Lakhvinder Singh and Ehtasam and Kisly Kumar having me today on this really great day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shanwas. That was a very heartwarming speech. Next, we have Mr. Vivek Dimbole. He is a member of the Indian Overseas Congress, and he would pay his regards. Mr. Vivek Dimbole.
Thank you, Atisam. Actually, everyone said about Gandhiji, Professor Lakhvinder, Professor Sravan Singh, Kisly sir, Sehnawaz ji, and Pandey ji. So I heard, I want to say some words about that. गांधी जी एक इंसान नहीं है, गांधी जी एक विचारधारा है, वो हैं, रहेंगे, थे. They are their thoughts still alive. We need to remember his teachings every time. Like what he teaches us Swablamban and Swabhiman. So in the current scenario, these things are be very matter. Like how one become the Swablambi to do his own work, and how one will become the Swabhimani to make his own responsibility. And his truthfulness and make non-violence is also the mirror of current society, because it needs to establish the sadbhavana in society. Like he told the society the way how to live in society. Like he once said that if your behavior is good with your neighbor, then you can survive anywhere. So first you need to start behave by your neighbor. So if you contribute with your neighbor, if you talk good with your neighbor, if you talk good with your any of an unknown person, then you can be a good person. So these things should be implemented in the society. Then only if one place will be good, then definitely other place will be good. So other thought of Gandhiji is that if you want to see the change in someone, first you need to make that change in yourself. So like if you want to like for that example, the one example has been written, like if one person came to Gandhiji, he said, Gandhiji, do I want to learn that. Gandhiji said, okay, you come to me after 5 days. Then Gandhiji tells, okay, I am still doing, you come to me after 10 days. Then Gandhiji told him the answer in a one word. But the person said, Gandhiji, why you told me that so late the answer? So Gandhiji told, because the things you are asking, I am also not able to doing that. First, I am implementing in myself. Then I can only tell to you that you can do this. So that scenario should be improved in the every prospectus of society. So it will be the good honor to the leader or our respective Mahatma Ji. Also, the people scenario is like taking the credit, but the Gandhiji scenario is he never said about the credit. He just do the work. People gave him credit. So this scenario also should be taken by the society or the person or the leader. They should not ask for the credit, or they should not say something for credit. The people should decide for him the credit. Like some TV channel, news channel, don't say about some leader he's doing something, or he should say some name. The credit scenario nowadays is going. It's not the philosophy of Gandhiji. Also, the Gandhiji has a very doordarshi person, because the there is some myth is going why Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was not a prime minister, why Nehruji is a prime minister. That decision of Gandhiji is very because he's of a long-lived mind. He knows that Nehruji is a younger than Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He can lead the country long time. So at that time, the person needs who can lead the country for longer time, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. So he knows the responsibility of Vallabhbhai Patel. Then he knows how Nehruji can lead long time. So that's why he made his hand for the Nehruji. So there is some myth is going because Nehruji do something like that, that's something like that. That's why he made the prime minister. That is not a good thing. That the main thing is because of his doordarshi nature of Gandhiji. Nehruji become the first prime minister, and he lead the country very good manner. So that will become the independence stone of our country, and uh, gave our strong new for the development of our country. So this is also we need to learn. So think about the doordarshi nature. Don't believe about the myth. Also, Gandhiji told us that Gandhiji teaches us that uh, if we are any background, if we have something seeing wrong, we need to fight for it. We need to uh, say against something. It is not like that we are seeing just ignoring that. Because he was studying in England, he went for South Africa. He was a rich person. He can do anything. But he saw the condition of people in the South Africa. He realized that he can do something for them. Then he come back in India. Then he started thinking about why the British government is doing such thing on the Indian person. Why is doing these type of things? After he has a good degree and something, he can earn a lot of money. But he went in the Satyagraha, Chora Chori Kand, and many things he did. And only the one khadi, in one khadi he did everything. So that makes the person tyag. If you want to do something, you need to show that how you are doing these things. So his Quit India movement at the time of 1942 was the biggest event. Like it was the historical event in the top 10 movement. It comes nowadays also. So these kind of things, and his voice at that time can make the many persons to come to him. So that was the power of the Gandhiji. Nowadays also, if his voice is this type of voice will come, if this type of voice will come, definitely many persons will become with you. So we need to raise the point that what is the Gandhiji and how he managed to come the person. Like he said, we need to make Swadeshi. Many persons make destroy their cloths and these type of things. He said we need to make brat. We need to make fast. Many persons did fast. So this type of things we need to manage this time to demonstrate the society that how to deal the conditions the scenario for, like, we need a we need not we don't need a leader who give our instruction, do that, but the voice against the wrong thing, against the bad things, stand up, that can connect the people, that can collect the persons for the against the wrong things. So that is the power of Gandhiji. So if one can understand the Gandhiji in the current scenario society, it will be very beneficial for the society, because Gandhi teach how to live society. He teach truth. He teach don't thief. He teach don't fight. So many things. That the don't fight means here he is not a coward. He's a manner of a person. His the way of don't fight means you should respect, you should forgive. First, you should forgive. You should tell that you are a good person inside. Your soul is good. So that does not mean he is coward. He is a way of living. He is a philosophy. If you forgive someone, he automatically understand that, oh, he is forgiving me. He is not fighting me. He will automatically become a good person. If someone is fighting, he will become the good person. So this teaching can make the society very good. Like nowadays, what happening? Some group of person coming to kill someone or fight someone, then one person coming to here, but they are not understanding the philosophy of Gandhiji, that love, spread the truth. That Rahul Gandhiji many times said, we are working for the love, we are working for the humanity. So these type of philosophy we need to develop: love, humanity, and truthfulness, irrespective of the any reason, irrespective of the any caste, any reason. There's a bigger there's a much bigger thing of humanity. Love and humanity is the most biggest thing that Gandhiji taught us, and that is still alive, and we need to go for that. That's I want to say about that. Thank you very much for everyone for their excellent brief description of Gandhiji, and I can say much more, but it's a very good honor of Professor Lakwinder Singh and other respective colleagues of IOCK like Kisly sir. They arranged the good things for the Gandhian culture to spread in the world, that can make very big impact, because a small stone can make a very big things. So hope that will become the very good things in the future. I say best thing in the future. So thank you very much, Adisamji. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Vivek. Next speaker that we have is Miss Anchal Malik. Miss Anchal Malik, would you like to express your views?
Yes, of course, I will tell something. I will not stretch the meeting too much. Already respected professors and speakers, they told everything about the Gandhiji, so I have not too much to speak. So I want to tell about the Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He was a great man, and his vision was to treat it equally. Either he will be Sikh, either he will be Hindu, or whatever the casteism. Gandhiji's vision was to treat it equally, and his strategy was to express everyone by truth, sacrifice, non-violence, selfless, and service, as well as the cooperation. And if we will talk about the Gandhiji rules, then his rule was, you must not lose your faith in the humanity. Humanity is an ocean, and if few drops of the oceans are dirty, then it doesn't mean oceans become more dirty. The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems. And Gandhiji, there are the 10 rules of the Gandhiji that can changing the world. He expressed before that. First is, we have to change ourselves. If you must want to change that the world will be changed, firstly we have to change our view of the person, that yeah, if I think he's a dirty man, no, because we don't know that he's dirty or not. We have to check him by his expressions, by his the thing, or by his help that he have to deal with the others. And secondly is, you must be in control. Nobody can hurt us without our permission. Gandhiji's second rule. We cannot hurt by someone, either we will not give permission to him or his that he can hurt to us. Third one is forgive and let it go. The weak can never forgive, and the forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. And eye for the eye only ended up making the whole world blind. Fourth one is the without action, you are not going anywhere. And fifth one is take care of this moment. I don't want to foresee the future. Firstly, Gandhiji was saying that you have to be concentrate on the present situation. Only then you can change your future. If you will just continue think about your future, you will not thinking about what you're going in your present. If you will control your present situation, automatically your future will be go to bright. And most importantly is everyone is human, so we have to claim to be a simple individual level to like each are human. He don't believe in the casteism. He said that either any of the caste we have to be treated equally because we are human. And next one is we have to see the good in people and help them. If I will say that, yeah, there are the good qualities of man and he is a good person, of course, it will help in our growth because we are seeing the positivity in everyone. We are not seeing the negativity of that person. If we stretch out the positivity and the good ways of that person, automatically our India will grow. We just lack out their negativity. And we have to be confident and we have to be helpful and we have to be like he said that satyam is say we have to be firstly honest with us and our family and with others and continue to grow and involve. If we will follow these rules, then according to the Gandhiji, our country will be continue to be grow and going to be more either in the international world or in the globally as well. So his vision was good, and I think Korea is following the Gandhiji rule because Korean people are non-violent, and Gandhiji rule was non-violently. We have to do everything. They are not violent, but they are achieving everything, and they are involving everything, and their country is going to be grow by day because they are not violent. They are doing and taking the requirements by government without using any violence and nothing else. Actually, they are following the Gandhiji rules, but they don't know because our Gandhiji rules were also same. Without violence, we have to do our work. And one more thing, I will continue with you in your future meeting. I want to use the metaverse technology also in this meeting then because I'm working on this. So I want to use by metaverse by this community and all that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. So happy to
experience anything. I'm so much like lack of experience. Then here are all are the respected and all have the so much experience. But I want to use my metaverse and some technology in these meetings and all that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy.
Thank you, Anshul. Ms. Anshul. Next, I would like to call on Professor Lakwinder Singh. He's going to comment on all the speakers and give his remarks. Professor Lakwinder Singh.
Thank you, Tesham. When I started, I started on a positive note, but I was not expecting so much energy in a small meeting. But after I heard all the people, I heard so many positive, so many wonderful ideas from all the colleagues. So it shows, how much energy, how much synergy we can create, even if we are small. All the speakers came out with wonderful ideas, wonderful suggestions, and I now much stronger than I started, just 1 hour ago. So this shows that a strong team of dedicated people and devoted people can change the whole scenario of a situation. So as Gandhiji told us, never be hopeless. You can always create hope with a strong energy within you. Gandhiji always talk about spiritual energy within you. So today I saw that energy being created by our speakers. I would like to start with my thanks to Professor Swaran Singh. His speech was very inspiring, even though he did not have much time to prepare to our invite. But he's a Gandhi specialist. He can always speak on Gandhi for as much as you want. So he's full of ideas. But he gave us a lot of information how Gandhi is connected with Korea. Some of the information even I didn't know that. So we need to talk to him more and more and involve him and his academic work in Korea and connect him with Korean universities and Korean schools, so that Korean institutions, Korean university can benefit from his insights on Gandhiji. And because some of his points was very, very new even to me, person like me, even though I've been studying Gandhi and Korea for a long time to come. As he told us that Korean's political leadership and Korean independent leadership was strongly inspired by Gandhiji. So Gandhiji was noticing what is happening in Korea. So that is very important for us. So far, we have not used this linkage to promote India-Korea relationship. But that is the foundation. That is our soft power that we can use. I'm a strategic thinker. I write a lot of articles on military issues and military and how can we cooperate together in defense matters. But on the defense matters, the foundation is our soft power. Foundation is our value system, our spiritual harmony between each other. So Gandhiji was trying to pinpoint that. So Korean people have a lot of respect, and Korean was getting a lot of strength from independence movement in India. So Koreans was directly and indirectly was trying to inspire themselves from what is happening in India at that time. So that foundation has to be used again to build our partnership. As Professor Swaran, he told us that even modern contemporary political leaders have a lot of respect for Gandhiji. And so they are using Gandhi's values, Gandhi's teaching to promote peace in the world. Be it in the United Nations, be it in the Korean political president, everybody has used Gandhiji to promote peace in the world. And as Anchal told, that Koreans are very peaceful people. They have never attacked any country in the world. Like India, we have never attacked in a single country in the world in your history of 5,000 years. We never tried to conquer any world because we are a country of peace. Same as Korea. Korea has never attacked any country in the world. The most peaceful people. This is one of the most important things about Korea. Not a single time, not even a single time, any Korean king. Sometimes Korea was a very strong country, very strong united country. Not a single time Korean king thought of conquering China, conquering Russia, or conquering Japan. Never. That idea never came to their mind. They're so peaceful people, so kind people that that's what India and Korea has united by fundamental values of peace. That no country has a right to violate other countries. That we are all sovereign people, we are self-respecting people, and there's no place for violence in your mind, in your thought process. That is fundamental value system which we share with you. But I want to tell Professor Swaran ji, she should know that even though Korean people like India very much, but we are not doing much in Korea. Our value system, our government institutions have almost collapsed. They are not just like 150 years ago, when we were celebrating our 150th anniversary, I was the only one who organized some events. Our embassy just organized a small event, just because they were sent orders from India that you have to celebrate. So they organized one small event. Sometimes even 5 Koreans don't come to the events. So what is the point? My point is that in India, professor like you who have reached at the highest level, you should push to the establishment. Gandhi, Korea is a soft place for us. In East Asia, Korea is a place where we can receive warm-heartedly. If we try to make a push, if we try to promote our values, Korea is a place where we can start with. So, but so far our institutions, our diplomats are just providing on lip service. So you will be surprised to know that even though we are functional for almost one year, no official attempt has been made by any agency. Even look in India, like Gandhi Smriti and other bodies have reached me. They always talk to me. Their officer talk to me. That doesn't tell us what you need. Their officer, their president, almost everybody talk to me from time to time. Even 2-3 weeks ago, the president of the institution called me and started to tell us, we're getting a lot of support from the Gandhian institution in India, but our diplomats are just providing lip service. But diplomats are very important to make a push because they have resources, they have a reach. So I request you to make an official, push that embassy should become more active in Korea to promote to promote Gandhian values. So far, their focus is on only economic cooperation. If you go to embassy, they always talk about this cooperation, this economic deal, this investment deal, this trade deal, this CIPA. So their minds are fully occupied by economic trades, economic deals. They think as if economics is everything. They think that by achieving some investment, by achieving some trade deals, they will achieve everything. No, that is a small part of story. Big thing is the cultural union, spiritual entity, spiritual integration. And Gandhi is the tool to achieve that oneness with Korea. And if Korea joined us, we can achieve great spiritual heights. Korea is a very strong country for us. For that, we need a spiritual integration between each other. And for that, we have to convince our diplomats that they should show more, because Gandhi is a real source of our strength. Gandhi is a real which can unite two civilizations together, and which the bond can last for centuries. Once our hearts are met, our minds are met, this strong foundation can last for centuries. So we should not, our officials, they are too much showing results. They are being pushed by our politicians, show result, show us an investment. For them, results mean investment. Results mean economic deals. Result means buying weapons from Korea. They never say how much appreciation Koreans have for India, for Indian culture, for Indian values, for Indian way of life, for Indian democracy, for Indian constitution, for Indian election system. We are proud people. We have such a great assets which Korea can feel inspired. But our diplomats don't feel that proud of our fundamental strength. So for them, business. 24 hours they talk about business. And this is a very serious challenge before us. We need your help. We need your support to promote Gandhiji in Korea. So the more articles we write, the more interventions we made at the academic level, it will reach the Indian officials that Gandhiji is the most well received. As you said in your speech, that Korean political leaders are using Gandhiji to promote themselves, promote their country. But we are not using Gandhiji to promote India and Korea. Can see the irony in the situation. Koreans use they promote their peace system, their value system, but we don't use Korea to promote our country. That is the problem with us. That is why we have to come to our strength and try to reorganize ourselves so that our message, our strengths reach Korean people. Coming to my friend Mr. Puneet's message, yes, you are very right. In Korea, serious issue is animal cruelty. Sometimes Koreans treat animals very badly. But Gandhi told us that fighting in a country's civilization is known by the way it treats its animals. So the way Korean sometimes treats animals just for meat, everybody eat meat, that's okay, but still they deserve kind treatment, in Korea. But Gandhiji was strong against animal exploitation, animal cruelty. So here Gandhiji's value, Gandhiji's role. That is why we invited Mr. Puneet to be the keynote speaker, because I feel this area needs proper attention. In Korea, sometimes they ignore. They don't feel that they are cruel to Korea. They think it's natural. They feel animal, so we're going to eat them anyway, so it's okay to be cruel to them. So that kind of mentality, that kind of thinking has to be changed, and that can be changed by Gandhian values. And my colleague Professor Singh is going to talk about it in a minute. He is an expert on animal cruelty. He will talk about it more. But just want to tell you that this issue is also very important and very, very need our attention, need our support. And I also want to thank Kisly. You raised a very important point. Even though Gandhi is our father of a nation, in Korea there's a smear campaign is going on. I don't know who launched it, but they're trying to say if Gandhi was bad and something. So I don't know from where this idea came and who's pushing for it. But I'm alarmed by this article, by media campaign, that Gandhi is a kind of a person which you don't need to reserve. And once again, all official silent. Such a I don't want to use that word, but such a unholy campaign is being launched. Some media people that Gandhi is not worshipping worshipping, but not but what he is. So that kind of also. So Mr. Kisly also raised a very important point. We have it is now is very early stages, very at small stages. It can be countered at this stage. It can be we can nub the evil at the beginning, But and if we allow this kind of perspective, if we allow this kind of thinking, then it can be create future problem, for us. Then we will very difficult for us to regain our ground. So that is very important. I also want to thank my dear friend, Mr. Anchal. She raised a very good point, even though she prepared her lecture at very short notice. But I strongly feel that her 6-7 points which we mentioned about Gandhi's teaching was well heard and well attended. And I think this kind of dedication, this kind of motivation, this kind of strength which you showed in the speech is very inspiring. Some of our girls participants are listening to you. The kind of energy, the kind of positivity, the kind of commitment you showed in your lecture is very inspiring. Many of our girls participants and girl members will learn a lot of will take a lot of strength from you. So from now, as you said, you will join us on more meeting. We will give you more leadership role in our association. Okay, the kind of leaders you have, leadership qualities you have displayed. It is very important for us to young leaders like you should lead us. So we will not let this kind of motivation, this kind of strength, this kind of positivity go away. So you are our diamond now, and I'm very happy to have you with us today and give your remark. And I want to thank other colleagues also, Shahnwaz also, and my colleague other also. So they also gave very good speeches and very inspiring speeches. And because now my friend Professor Shin will speak, so I will take a relax so that Keshav can invite Professor Shin to give his remarks. Thank you very much once again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor Lakwinder.
Thank you.
Professor Jongsan Shim has also joined us. He wants to pay his tribute. He is a senior he's a vice president of Gandhian Cultural Community. I would like to invite Professor Jongsan Shim. Professor Jongsan Shim would you may unmute yourself, Professor.
Okay, yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm really so sorry for being late today. And thank you for a lecture delivered by the Dr. Professor Lakwinder Singh. And again, I would like to repeat the quote spoken by Mahatma Gandhi. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. And Mahatma Gandhi was globally accepted as a role model with his personal characteristics, meaning, and view of life, devoting to his belief, way of struggling with the problem he encountered, universal understanding of peace and tolerance, the value he attached to human beings, and his character. Thus, from the value he possessed to set forth an educational point of view. So that's why I asked Dr. Lakwinder Singh to arrange the curriculum so that we can open the class in one of the university in Daegu regarding the violence to animals. Animal cruelty is one of nationwide concern in Korea, and verbal, in particular, the verbal abuse to animal is one of big problems. Just regarding to the attitudes to the animals. Use of appropriate and positive language is one of ways for us to treat under the philosophy of Gandhi, 5 pillars of Gandhi nonviolence. Respect, mutual understanding, mutual acceptance, mutual appreciation, mutual comprehension. So words and the manner they are used is significant. Words can be described as medicine. They can cure or heal, but if used improperly, we will become unhealthy. Constant use of violent words, even to animals, will disturb our mental balance and we will end up becoming stressful. Use of appropriate language and words that are positive in nature are key to nonviolent communication, even to animals. It should also be noted words may have different meanings and interpretations in different cultures. We must remember that through language and communication, we can see the hearts of people to the animals. And it means that language makes it possible to express feelings, emotions, views, ideas, opinions, perceptions, as well as judgments about people, objects, places, things, information, and situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
Next, I will open the session for question and answer. If anyone has any question to any of our panelists, they can post.
Or they can
Anyone
ask
would-
directly.
Yeah, okay. They can ask directly to the
Any
panelist.
speaker.
Yeah, any speaker. Okay, I hope
I
there
have
is.
one question for Professor Swaran Singh.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Sir, can you listen to me?
Yeah.
Professor Swaran Singh.
Yes.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sir, what do you think? What kind of cooperation, academic cooperation is possible between Korean universities and Indian universities? And what kind of work we can do? What is your idea?
Thank you. One standard way of building cooperation between, for example, my university and yours, is to think of signing MOU for cooperation. And
Okay.
sure we have our own template and you have your own template of what kind of MOUs you sign.
Mm-hmm.
And that could facilitate doing joint studies, joint meetings, joint conferences, even exchange of scholars if it allows that kind of funding in that MOU. But what is interesting today is both the positive and negative side of new technologies that are at our disposal. And I was happy to hear Anshul talking about infusion of technology to be brought into how to empower all of us. And she mentioned something about meta technology.
Metaverse.
Metaverse.
Yes, sir. Metaverse, because it is developed by Korea. So I took some part of this. That's why I want to include something.
I
Because
will be someone very keen to, thank you, Anshul. I will be very keen to see how she can bring in that technology, because technology is multiplier and it's a tool that empowers all of us. But technology also sometimes can be dangerous. For example, I heard some of you mentioned your concerns about how Gandhi is being dealt with by
Yes,
various
sir.
voices. You are hearing different voices. That is simply because technology has become a tool in the hands of everyone. And then therefore everyone is free to put out their views and circulate them to as many people as he or she wants to circulate to. And I think the limitation that all of us have is that more sensational ideas you put on the social media, the more hits you are likely to get. So what the new technology of information communication is doing is that it is making numbers the most significant judge of what is good and what is bad. If what I speak is liked and seen and viewed and it receives maximum hits, that means I become a very, very visible and influential voice. But difficulty is that more sensational items you put on social media, the more hits one gets. And sometimes sensationalism begins to overpower our narratives. But Gandhi has received such challenges always, all his life he faced these challenges. In all his life, there were people who thought his ideas were not practical, his ideas were foolish. And same challenge we are seeing Gandhi is facing again. But I would be perhaps overestimating my capacities if I say people like me have to defend Gandhi. Gandhi doesn't need anyone to defend Gandhi. Indeed, if Gandhi needed you and me to defend him, he's not worth defending. Gandhi fundamentally does not need anyone to defend. Gandhi needs our understanding, our correct understanding of Gandhi. And that is what is our job to bring. I think you and me as academics have a responsibility to put forward in public domain, and that is my attempt to write this book that you showed on your screen, Revisiting Gandhi, looking at how relevant he remains to our contemporary challenges. So understanding of Gandhi is our task. I would say let us depend on what we can do. Let us not focus too much on what we cannot do, or who's not coming with us, who's not doing what we want them to do. Let us do what we can do together. And the social platforms, the social media platforms and metaverse technology that I look forward to how that can help us, can be one way of bringing what we think is the right side to be highlighted when it comes to Gandhi. And that is our task to do. And we should focus on that as to what we can do to strengthen that positive understanding of Gandhi. Even in today's world, there are people who are of our thinking, who think like some of us think, in terms of Gandhi being very relevant in today's discussion. But maybe they are not getting the most sensational visibility. In fact, mention of Nathuram Godse was made. Nathuram Godse himself held Gandhi in great esteem. That itself is very interesting element to appreciate. So in that sense, I'm sure that we should focus on what practically we can do. And it is so typical that once your voice becomes convincing, it will become visible also. It will go to many more people. And the moment this connectivity of academics who are interested in working on Gandhi becomes wider and stronger, you will see many other people who are seen as fence sitters at this stage also joining your team, joining your activities over a period of time. It's just 1 year, as you mentioned, you started this very important initiative. It takes a little bit of time and you will build your team. You have built some team. I will be happy to continuously stay in touch with all of you. And I think we should then focus on what we can do. And that is where infusion of technology can be a great help. And if one of your students is very well versed with technology, you should take full advantage of that. And make sure you can organize meetings like this, which do not take any financial allocations. You can use just social media and connect with scholars around the world. And Gandhi is something that the whole world is familiar with. If any single name is known around the world from India, it is the name of Mahatma Gandhi. So you can have connectivity around the world, not just in Korea, but I was underlining how Korea is also very special when it comes to Gandhi. You know, the memory of Jallianwala Bagh of 1919 and First March movement of 1919 is just March and April, just next to each other. So there are multiple instances in history, multiple reasons of today's challenges that should bring India, Korea together. And I salute to your team and to you, Professor Lakhvinder Singh, for this initiative. But Gandhi should be your own guide in this. Look at how many struggles Gandhi himself had to undergo, how many challenges he himself had to face. But he thought even if one person understood him, that is good enough. And he continued that stride. There are multiple instances, one after another, starting from his family life himself, from his childhood itself. You can see one after another challenges Gandhi faced. And likewise, people who are trying to propagate Gandhian thought will also have their challenges. So it's not going to be that everyone is going to be, all converted very quickly. They're all going to be question Gandhian thoughts, particularly youth naturally will question ideas of Gandhi because we have moved far too much into materialism. And some of us are realizing the limitations of materialism over a period of time. But material success, material achievements, economic growth rates, investments, trade, they do attract great attention. But what happens when you become rich? You are then looking out for other, sort of soul nurturing. And you were talking to people in soul today, but I'm talking of SOLE, soul. And the soul searching then begins to look at peace, spirituality, contentment. These are important ideas. And Gandhi, I think, is in that sense a companion for long-term pursuits of life. So I'm not someone who is much worried about Gandhi being marginalized or demolished or removed from our consciousness. Gandhi has faced these challenges multiple times. And some of these challenges are also global. And I always see it as exponential infusion of technology in our lives, which has empowered, and sometimes please forgive me if you don't like my expression. Sometimes I talk about how this enormous infusion of technology has resulted in what I call, and with apologies, I call it empowerment without education. So there are democracy that Greek philosophers described, which was only limited to the aristocracy. Now democracy has gone to every citizen. So every citizen is today free and empowered. And it is therefore reflection of that new reality. Whether it is democracy in the United States, whether it is democracy anywhere else in the world, this new empowerment is definitely transforming our democracies. And we are beginning to see new kinds of outcomes of that transformation. You can simply compare the last 10 or 15 Lok Sabhas of India as to who were the people sitting in those seats. And that will tell you how democracy has transformed over a period of time. But this transformation is not going to make Gandhi irrelevant, is my conviction. And that is what makes Gandhi iconic and global, and timelessness in his thought is something that we need to underline. Transformation has happened. There is no doubt about it. We need to see that as a reality. We can't negate it. We can't say, I don't like this reality, and therefore I'm still going to wait till reality becomes the kind of reality I want to see. We live in this world. We will live in this reality. Let us engage with that reality and see how Gandhi can be understood from that perspective in which we live today, which is a changed democracy, which is a democracy of the grassroots people, where everyone is empowered to speak so freely what they want to speak. And it's a reflection of democracy that you can have worst criticisms of Gandhi coming out. And that is not first time. Every 10, 15 years or 5-7 years, you see one sensational book being written on Gandhi. And this is not new. This has happened all the time. What is new is that we notice these things making enormous explosive visibility in social media, and that sometimes we begin to perhaps get worried about. But that is a new life now. We will have to live with this explosion of information available on social media. But I am confident that Gandhi will survive this new explosion of information in public domain as well as he has survived so far. So again, salutations to your initiatives, and I look forward to your future activities and future success in making Gandhi popular again, making Gandhi understood again, and making India and Korea connect with two sides much more strongly using the Gandhi as our bridge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor.
I'll
That was a
take-
very
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, Adesham, we can wrap up now.
that was a very wonderful and informative session. Now, but we have to wrap up. I take the opportunity to thank all of the panelists who have taken a time from their busy schedule and joined us. We would now end the session, but before we end the session, I would like to call Professor Lakwinder Singh for his closing remarks.
Thank you, Sesham. Once again, as you know, we launched our organization only in October. So we have organized already a few very successful events. So New Year has started in Korea. Today is a Lunar New Year. So it's a very, very great moment. And it's very great moment to celebrate it with our friends and with our colleagues. So we are already having such a good party, good meeting. So it's already Happy New Year. Once again, I want to wish you a happy Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year's. So I hope this new year of Tiger will bring a lot of happiness to you, to your family, to your colleagues, and it will fulfill your dreams in this year. And I also want to welcome our new members today. So I also hope that they will be continuously joining us and playing their contribution in this great movement, in great movement to achieve our mission to spread Gandhi's message all over the world. Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. I really feel great to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.